passionate about Cleveland sports.
He's going in! Touchdown!
Browns, Indians, Cavs, the Big Ten, and more.
Cleveland is a city of champions once again!
Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond.
A swing and a drive! To deep right!
Here are your hosts, Andy Billman and Jared Watson.
Hello and welcome, Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. He's Andy Billman, I'm Jared Watson, and this podcast is brought to you by Waiting for Next Year. Check them out. Original Cleveland sports reporting at waitingfornextyear.com. Well, we've made it, finally, football season. Thursday night, got to watch the Bears get beat by the Packers in what was an extremely boring game. That's how we started
Bad.
the 100-year anniversary of the NFL. It was bad. Terrible quarterback play. A lot of it. I mean, you could call it a good defensive game. There were some folks out there that were defending the way that the game went down and saying that they appreciate all of the defense. Andy's nodding his head back and forth, saying, no, I agree with him.
Sounds like
was boring,
Super Bowl.
Boring.
Sounds like
boring.
the Super Bowl. It's okay.
We picked up where
it's
we left off.
It's okay to say it was a bad NFL game. Anyways, continue with the open.
So we're going to talk about, obviously, the Browns coming up in a little bit, and college football started. We'll talk about that, too, and we'll talk about the Indians. Carlos Carrasco's back. That's probably the only good thing that we can really talk about with the Indians at this point. But first, like we said, let's jump into it.
Cleveland Browns.
It's funny. Everybody's been saying, what is this compared to? In 99, it's probably the closest thing, but that was more celebration because football came back to Cleveland. This is anticipation. This is hype. And that's kind of where we're going to start off with this show. I mean, look, you got to acknowledge, and this is very unusual for Browns fans, especially in the last 20 years, the hype machine is real. We've been talking about it all on this podcast. And really, it started right after the Ravens game. Then it had just generated into a different jolt with the Odell Beckham trade. It's been very interesting to watch from afar. As Jared and I don't live in Cleveland. But when watching from afar, you can tell the excitement. You can tell people on Twitter this week, it's been very strangely quiet at times in social Cleveland circles. I haven't seen as much tweeting or texting. There's been more questions. There's been more things. You can tell everybody's anticipating. It's almost like Christmas Eve for a child. They're waiting for their gifts, and they don't know what else to talk about. Santa has the list. Everything's ready. We just need Santa to come down the chimney and bring the big Nintendo. So that's kind of my vibe I'm seeing from afar. The only thing I do want to mention, I'm just so excited for Cleveland.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the Browns. I'm excited for people like you and I, Jared, because so many times it's more excitement with tempered expectations or tempered reality. This time it's not, and that's good. It's good.
Andy, we're at a point, though, that I will tell you, I'm over the hype. I'm over the hype. I'm over the talk. I'm over this. This has been the longest we talk about it. This is the longest time, the longest that we've waited for a season to start. It feels this way. It feels like we've been waiting a long time. And a lot of that is because it's been continual hype, which for me as a Cleveland sports fan, and I'm guessing for you a little bit, and for anyone listening, the more the hype, the louder the hype gets, the more anxious Cleveland sports fans get.
Yes,
because,
they do.
How many times do we have to say, whoop-de-hell, on paper, whoop-de-hell. Now, we don't even really know what this fully capable offense, it sounds like the Death Star, fully capable Death Star, what this fully capable offense is even going to do. Especially if you're, again, a Cleveland sports fan and you start hearing things like hip pointer, which for you who don't know what a hip pointer is, that's a bone bruise. And apparently Odell Beckham Jr. is suffering from one a little bit. Those are the things that we hear about underneath the hype. So you get nervous. The hype already has you anxious. Then you hear news like that, and it makes you even more anxious. Like, oh, here we go. Here we go already, right?
Very true.
Right?
Very true. Very true.
We don't know how to handle this yet. And the only way to get over it is to get on the field and play a game.
Yep. And this is the first year, too. No draft hype.
Yeah.
Really no preseason.
No, it was fun. It was fun. That was enjoyable. It was an enjoyable draft.
Enjoyable draft. There was no... Like, even with Antonio Callaway, Jared, there was really no meltdown. There was a lot of GQ articles, but we're done with those now. But like, I can say the only
Audibles now that we're dealing with.
I like those commercials. I give kudos to the producer and to Baker Mayfield. Those were
they were
slick.
done.
I really did. I really did like those commercials.
And I love Hulu. I've got Hulu Live. I got rid of cable and I have Hulu Live.
Maybe I'll start.
Hulu, I'll be waiting for my check in the mail.
DirecTV, don't worry. I got the good old satellite dish right in the front yard, like a Christmas tree and an ornament.
Nope. But I cut them like a rainstorm in the middle of watching a show that I like. Out.
I think the bigger thing before we get to the Beckham thing and the weapons and everything else, I do think the one thing that we all got to keep in mind, that I keep reminding myself, is Freddie Kitchens has not coached a game. We kind of forget that, and we kind of like, yes, he was a part of the offense last year, a huge part. But he was just the offensive coordinator and the running backs coach. He has not coached a game yet. I think that is the one thing that I want to lead off to after we get over the hype topic is, Freddie has a lot going on here in a couple days. It's Friday night, so it was Sunday, and it's going to be interesting to see how he handles this. Now, I will tell you from afar, I have been blown away by Freddie. I have been blown away by Freddie from day one. I think Freddie's done everything he's done it perfectly. I've really not seen any missteps. I like how the team went through training camp. That was the most efficient preseason and training camp I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that. I thought it went smoothly. With even all the hype stuff, I thought it went really well. I think Freddie is really going to feel helped with the offensive coordinator Monken, the defensive coordinator, which I can't remember his name off the top of my head, shoot me in the face, and the special teams guy too. Like all these Pryfer. And then I forget. Why do I forget the defensive coordinator's name? He coached the Cardinals last year. But my point being is, Jerry, when you got experienced coordinators like this, you got a new head coach. I think there's going to be a lot going on tomorrow. But I get the feeling Freddie from afar in his quotes in his press conference has a calming effect about what's going to happen. And that's very refreshing because if you listen to us every week with Hugh Jackson, it was just like, you always felt strange. Nothing was really a complete thought. Always something was hidden agenda. And really, that's been the one thing I love about Freddie and, frankly, Dorsey. It's been very clear and upfront from day one about what is going on and what's accepted. Sure, there is some typical, you can't give the press every bit of information, which they can't. But he's really been upfront. And I guess the way I'll end it is, Jared, the one thing that I think Freddie has done a nice job of, which is not easy to do in Cleveland, Ohio, in a team with a lot of expectations, is he's won over the fans before he's coached a game, in my opinion. Now, that will change if he starts losing. But going into a first game, you don't hear a lot of conversations about this. And boy, Jared, that would be the top. It was the topic for Hugh Jackson. It was the topic for
Mike Patton.
Patton and Shermer and even Mangini. And it really has not been a topic here at all. It's been interesting.
Steve Wilks is the defensive coordinator.
That's his name, Wilks.
The thing is, Andy, so one thing that stands out to me already is that we went from Freddie saying that he would be calling the plays to Freddie backing off of that a little bit, right?
Yep.
How much is that going to affect the way that this new offense rolls out, this air raid?
We'll find out.
So I will say that if we want to nitpick, I might be a little concerned over that. Why did Freddie all of a sudden go from saying, it's not that much different of a routine to be the head coach, and yet now he's given up some of the play calling, right? I'm really nitpicking at this point.
Sure.
Really nitpicking. Could that come up to be a problem down the road? Well, sure. If Freddie doesn't like the calls that are being made, right? If Baker Mayfield isn't comfortable with what he wants out of him, with what Todd Monken wants out of him, but for all intents and purposes, I don't remember. Has Baker talked much about working with Todd Monken in this offseason?
Very little, but
Right.
that's a good sign. But by the way, that's a good sign. And I think the other thing here too, it's going to really help this team. And it's easy to forget because he really hasn't played a lot in the preseason. But Nick Chubb's going to have a big impact on this team, in my opinion. And sometimes he gets forgotten, and he is a wonderful running back. In fact, I think he's going to if he does what I think he can do, I think he can easily be a Pro Bowler.
Well, and David Njoku has been rather quiet as well. And now I don't know whether that was because of them holding him back a little bit in the preseason, or not. I don't know why they would. Did he get as much work as you would have expected this preseason? So yes, there's still questions to see how some of this stuff plays out.
Yes,
we know that towards the end of the preseason, Rashard Higgins looked like he had a little bit of an issue with holding on to the ball, but that's something I'm not going to worry too much about. I mean,
one game,
exactly. Like, we could sit here and we can mull over all of the things to worry about, but when it comes down to it, when we're talking about Freddie Kitchens, when we're talking about him as a head coach, you're right. He hasn't head coached a regular season game yet, but we've seen him there during this preseason, and I think that he's from everything we know about Freddie, he treated those like they were real games in a sense of the preparation. Now, did he treat it that way in a sense of their game plan and scheming? No, not really. They wanted to test things out, of course. That's how that works. But at the same time, Freddie is exactly who I feel like we've been waiting for 20 years to coach this team. It's crazy to see how many non-leaders were hired to lead this team as head coach.
And by the way,
like just non-leaders, guys that talks and didn't walks.
And top bottom, and I really mean that. Like, people forget, we had Mike Holmgren. We had Mangini. We had some guys in there. We had Butch Davis. Whatever you think about Butch Davis.
I don't recall any of them acting like leaders.
But that's my point, Jared. It's like you had some guys in there. Carmen Policy ran the 49ers to a dynasty in the late 80s into the early 90s. And all these guys came and went. So I agree with you about Freddie's presence. I agree with you about this is the one thing about this team. Yes, they're flashy, and yes, they have tons of stars. There's no question. No one will ever debate that, but I'll tell you, they feel like a team. And I think the biggest thing that I want to lead off with after you can look, the weapons are there. We talked about Chubb, Beckham, Landry, Njoku, Higgins, when Callaway comes back.
And we're only talking about the offense. We're not even talking about
I was gonna get
the
to.
Front four on defense. We're not talking about the young guys at linebacker and the old guys that are fighting to stay in there, like Kirksey and Schobert. We're not talking about that secondary with Greedy Williams and Ward and Randall and there's someone else in there too, and I'm losing
Terrence Mitchell.
Thank you. Yeah. So my point is, and from everything I've read, Andy, from everything I've read and seen, it was after that trip to Indianapolis that I guess everything started to really gel for them as a cohesive unit, as a 53, well, at that time 90, but you get the point, as 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense, and guys that are willing to go to battle and go to war for each other. That is so huge.
I'll even go a step further. I think it was when Landry got into it with the defensive cornerback. I think that moment really sparked it, and everything kind of came around that. And I agree with you. I was going to allude to it. This defense is what people need to keep reminding themselves. I'm telling you, after the Buccaneers game, if you don't think this defense is legit, I'm telling you, I was talking about this with Jared. I think the late 80s, early 90s Giants is the Ravens in the 2000s.
Right.
The modern day Giants with Justin Tuck and Strahan. The Browns are really there with potential. I don't think people realize how good. I was one of the guys who nitpicked Myles Garrett. You will not hear that from me this year. I'd be surprised if you did. I think Sheldon Richardson is a star. And by the way, he's got on the other end, Olivier Vernon. And then right next to him, you got Sheldon Richardson, and then you got Larry Ogunjobi. You got a great front four, and they got guys behind him who can play. And you got Avery, the linebacker. Yes. You mentioned Kirksey and Schobert. By the way, I guarantee you they'll play better this year because they're feeling the pressure to play well. Because if they don't, their asses are going to get
well, and then the other kid who's been injured too. The rookie that's been injured, the linebacker.
Wilson, Taki. And by the way, Taki is going to get a slow start, but I think Wilson, from what I've seen blitz and blobs of, I think he's got an impressive. Yeah. He has that.
That defense, Andy, that means there aren't going to be games where Baker goes out there, with a restrictor plate. There's no need for him to hold back. He can play a little riskier. He can sling it. And I don't know whether you heard the story or not. I've heard Dustin Fox talk about it a few times in regard. I think it was he was talking to Bernie about it, saying, that an old coach of Bernie's, or a coach that Bernie knew. I'm slaughtering this story, but it comes down to this: you can't be afraid to throw 5 interceptions in a game. And I feel like this defense is now. He means it in a way of you got to be able to come back and take those chances. However, that conversation was made.
Sure, whatever.
Throwing 5 interceptions in a game is not going to work. But let's think about it. Some of the great ones have had a lot of interceptions in a game, and sometimes they don't even lose those games.
And Brett Favre, right off the top of your head, Brett Favre can win you and lose you a game quickly. I agree.
If this, and Big Ben's had those games too.
Big Ben's had those games too.
Ben's had those games. Benjamin, Pennsyltucky Ben. That's I'm referring to him as that from here on out. Pennsyltucky Ben. And, man, he had a bad week. Rashard Mendenhall went after him on Twitter the other day. That was funny. So
we'll get to your Antonio Brown takes in a second.
Oh boy, I don't even need to.
But here's the big thing about all this stuff. It's exciting to be a Browns fan. The only thing that's a little tempered, which I want to get to next now, is Beckham's injury. Look, it sounds like from everything that I'm reading and hearing, this is like a 5%. You called it a bone bruise. All these different things come into play. Look, what is it going to really impact in a game? We don't know. It's a That's the only thing that bothers me, Jared. It doesn't bother me a lot. It just bothers me a little bit. It's a mystery.
You think Odell's playing the media a little bit?
That's been brought up a lot by people. I think it is a little bit. Yeah. We'll see what happens. But look, I just got to say this, by the way. Complete Jack just put up there someone from the Indians. Who was? Was that Frankie? No, it was Oscar Mercado. Good for Oscar. Jacked out. 1-0 Tribe. Winning the division. Going to win 6 straight against the Twins. Stop. So look, going to win 6 straight. Here we go. So look, the big thing with
Brad
Beckham.
Ham closing?
We'll get there. Boy, we could jump there right now. I'm not going to. Beckham's injury to me.
All right, I'm screwing you up.
Pause.
Right now.
Pause. It's like it's such a. I don't want to do a rant on the Tribe.
Don't do it. It was
Brown Celebration Day. Going back to Beckham's injury, I think that's a bigger part of the story. The only thing does, Jared, though, it puts a little bit of mystery, right? The Browns really didn't have a lot of mystery, and that's now to the bigger part of this thing, which we didn't get to. So the Browns, interestingly, and everybody did, but the Browns had a big deck shuffle in certain positions, especially wide receiver. Taywan Taylor, who it sounds like he may not play, kind of in the air. I get the feeling, Jared, even if he is dressed, you're not going to see him a whole lot. And then they got this guy, Kadale Hodge from Los Angeles. I know nothing about Kadale Hodge. To be honest with you, I never really noticed Taywan Taylor when I watched the Titans play. So these are 2 guys I don't know, but those 2 guys are in. And what we really learned, the Willises, we haven't talked about the Browns in a while, but we should mention about Jalen Strong. Jalen Strong had one of the poorest preseason games I saw against the Bucs that you can have for a guy who was on the edge. Feel bad for a guy. He played poorly. He looked old. Oh. He dropped balls. He wasn't running routes fast. It just stuck out like a sore thumb. And you feel bad for Jalen because Jalen was in position to get a spot. And then for Willie's, I've always kind of mentioned this on the podcast. Willie's needs time to develop, and he's back on the Browns practice squad. But Jared, Willie's has never jumped off the page to me.
No.
Willie's never really jumped off the page to me. So Ratley gets another chance. And by the way, it's a big chance for him because you have to figure, Jared, obviously, I don't think they get rid of Taywan Taylor because of what they traded for him. But either Hodge or Ratley is going to be put on the practice squad once Callaway comes back. So they're playing for jobs.
Well, they're playing for jobs. They also can't forget they let go of that Buckeye, Braxton Miller, which we pretty much knew that was going to happen too. I thought we'd see a little bit more out of him in that 4th game.
I'm actually going to give a neutral Buckeye opinion, which I think is needed for Braxton Miller. Braxton Miller, from everything I heard even before he got picked up by the Browns, really had the same issues. There was a kid out of Arkansas got drafted by the Jaguars back in the day.
Right.
He had similar issues. It's not easy being a quarterback and just transitioning into the league into something. Cordell Stewart was a slash for a reason because they had the influence of he might throw the ball. When you're strictly going out for position, it kind of takes and strips everything down to one position. And Braxton Miller, when I saw him play for the Texans, and I did see them play, he never jumped off the screen, Jared. He never did.
Well,
and the thing is, in this game, when you have speed and you got power, and you go, okay, Braxton, in college you did that. This isn't college. You got to be able to jump off the page. And you said it, and I alluded to it right away. Nothing against Braxton Miller, but I never thought that had a chance. I just never thought that had a chance.
You know what I like?
I was really surprised how much
like?
people in the media were hyping that. I just never saw it.
Last night when I was watching that Bears, that stunning Bears offense led by Mitchell Trubisky.
Cleveland kid, boy, did he have a rough. That was a rough game. That was a rough game for Trubisky.
Well, who were his receivers?
Okay, let's go down this road. Trubisky missed some passes, and I like Mitch. He's a local kid, but Mitch has got to play better, Jared.
Well, yeah, no, of course. But I was just getting at the fact that I'm glad that I don't have to hear completion to Taylor Gabriel.
Ooh. Yeah.
Right. I had a little bit of a flashback last night hearing that.
I'll tell you, Taylor Gabriel.
Gabriel. Haven't heard that name in a long time.
The other thing that jumped out to me, and now I'll compare this to what the Browns have. Even the Packers wide receivers didn't look good.
No, the Packers are going to have the same issues they had last year.
I was going to say, boy,
they look exactly the same. Now, Jimmy Graham looked all right, but he's by himself.
Yeah, I don't know.
When Jimmy Graham's your guy running constant post routes, that's just not a good thing.
And that's not good.
No.
So coming out there on Sunday, Beckham, Landry, and Higgins, strong front three, and Njoku doing his thing. You got guys like, I guess, Ratley coming off, but I don't think you're going to see much of Ratley. So, Jared, the wide receivers have really been shaken up a lot. It is interesting because that was not the theme I was thinking. I know you weren't either 2 weeks ago. It's amazing the deck shuffle that's really happened because Ratley, I thought, was the guy who probably or was on the verge of getting cut. He makes it, and the other guys are shipped out. Ishman really didn't play that well either in the last preseason game. Didn't really look that great. So all those, and Montgomery getting hurt. I thought Montgomery had a chance of making, but as soon as he got hurt, I mean, that was the end of that. So the other big story, though, that's been the story of the offseason, which I don't understand, and it's been a fascination from Browns fans since the 80s when I've been born, so this is not new, is the offensive line. It's always talked about in Cleveland. I am the rare guy who doesn't focus it, as people probably know in this podcast, but the Browns, again, did a lot of trades. They got this guy Wyatt Teller coming in, and then on top of that, they got Justin McCray from the Packers. Again, from what I'm hearing, Jared, it does not sound like either one's going to be starting. But I would say hold your bet on that. Because who knows? And then you had the whole thing with Greg Robinson being re-signed and signed back, but I'm not going to get in that story. But so you got Greg Robinson, you got Hubbard, Batonio, Treader, and I would guess Eric Kush, Jared? I would guess.
It's not a guess. I thought I heard it was a certainty.
I think so, too. I just have learned with the Browns, don't ever assume, be ready for anything. But I think Kush will get that job. But I'll tell you this.
Yeah, I mean, if they'll move around, and let's be real about this. A lot of the issues that you saw last night with Aaron Rodgers and with Mitchell Trubisky at some points is they're not getting rid of the ball soon enough. Now, part of that's because they're not finding guys, and part of that's because they're holding on longer because they're waiting for something to develop. But if Baker gets rid of the ball, he's going to make his offensive line look good.
Yes, he will.
Just by the fact that he's getting rid of the ball. So,
and he sidesteps really well.
Oh, he sidesteps. I know he can move. It's just Andy, I'm not worried about the offensive line.
No, I'm not either. And I was going to say the same thing. And by the way, they got stacks of guys coming in who are going to play. I mean, you don't make trades for draft picks, even in low rounds, to keep guys on the bench. Teller and McCray are going to be playing at some point this year. So that's something to watch. The defense, I really didn't see any huge changes. You can get into the defense if you'd like, but I didn't really see anything there. Look, we've kind of described it. I think we'll leave it as this. Steve Wilks, who I should remember his name, and Will, that are out this podcast now. I think I'm already noticing, Jared, you talk about impacts of Monken. I don't know. It's hard to tell because Freddie really does the same things Monken was doing. Monken is adding some flair.
Right.
But, boy, you are seeing the impact of Wilks I saw in the preseason in these games.
And you're hearing it from Myles Garrett.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. I think the defense, big expectations. And then finally, to our unspecial teams in 2018 and really unspecial teams in 2017, we have two rookies. We cleaned house. So there's no more Colquitt, the Flying Colquitt brothers. We got rid of him for Jamie Gillen, the new favorite underdog player in Cleveland. Gillen had a great video come out this week where he was karaokeing. I got to say he's a lovable guy, and you love guys, stories like this. Scottish Hammer, from Arkansas Pine Bluff. I mean, it's a great story. And honestly, the way he plays, he's going to be adored in Cleveland. He's going to be a star. If he works out, Jared, you're going to see actually Jamie Gillian jerseys. I can't believe I'm saying that about a punter.
I think I got to be honest with you. Colquitt had that personality as well. Which is, I mean, we can't ignore that. Colquitt would stand on the sidelines and get the fans fired up too. Colquitt didn't hesitate to talk a little shit every now and again. And Colquitt, this is where I don't know that Gillen has the same touch, but you can boom the ball all day long, which we've seen Jamie Gillen do. You know,
he can change a field.
75-yard punt at one point, a ridiculous
and
punt.
Going away. It wasn't like high and it bounced.
Right.
Going away.
Right.
It was amazing.
So, I mean, got it. But if you're going to play, you got to have finesse too. And that's what we lost with getting rid of Colquitt. Now, will that hurt us? I don't know whether it'll hurt us.
By the way,
can Gillen learn that? Does Gillen know how to do that? I don't know that I've seen it out of him, but I haven't really paid that close attention to his kicking game.
Jared, that's a fair point because Gillen's going to have to make punts like that. And then to the other side of the kicking game is Austin Seibert. And Seibert really played strong in the Buccaneers game. Looked good again. I got to be honest with you. I've done a 180 on Seibert. I've been really impressed with him. Yeah. Now, we'll see. Again, it's like Freddie Kitchens. Let's see him kicking a real game.
You can get the yips at any point, Andy. You can get the yips at any point.
He could, but he kicked confidently in Tampa Bay. And I thought that said a lot about him. And in a game, they needed it. So, it's a preseason game, so now it gets washed away. But Seibert won the job. And one last thought on Greg Joseph. I will, it's so weird. I won't remember the misses for Greg Joseph because there were multiple, but it was that one awful fucking make he had against the Ravens where that ball knuckled in. It's the ugliest. It is one of the most strangest reactions to a game-winning overtime field goal I've ever seen, where Baker couldn't tell if it went in. Everybody was more relieved. No one could believe it went through the uprights. It was one of the strangest. So, no ill wishes. I wish Greg Joseph the best. That did not work out. It just was very clear. So, Seibert's the guy. We'll see what happens there. And then, as we do with everything, let's flip around to who the team coming in. One thing that's interesting about the Titans, Jared, that I did not realize, I knew they were good, but 3 straight 9-7 seasons. I mean, the Titans have been pretty consistently above average. So, they come in here. And from everything I read and everything I saw, it comes down to one thing if you're a Titans fan. Is Marcus Mariota the guy? That's going to be a big theme with this team. It's a big theme coming in this game. I've watched a lot of Titans games. They've been strangely on national TV a lot in the last 2 or 3 years, like the Texans, which I don't understand why. But Mariota really has never taken that next leap. In fact, I would even say for people who pick on Prescott, I think that's harsh. Picking on Mariota makes a lot of sense to me, though. Mariota's got to play better this year. That's the big season, the big story coming in. Then the other one that I've been reading a lot about is the offensive line switching up on the offensive side of the ball, I should say. This guy, Taylor Lewan, who is their best tackle and their left tackle, suspended for 4 games. So that's already an advantage right there. And they have 2 new guards coming in this year. So
I think that whoever's replacing that left tackle position is also a little banged up from what I had seen too.
And a replacement and not a career backup.
Yeah.
A career backup. What do I mean by that? What the Titans do and how they got to 9-7 is simple. They did get an uplift last year with a receiver with Corey Davis. They have Derrick Henry when healthy is a monster of a running back. And there's been stories about him being nicked up as well. And then you got Delanie Walker and Adam Humphries, who are steady, good wide receiver tight ends. But really, the Titans' strength, which is not a surprise with Vrabel or anybody in that ilk, is their defense. Their defense is very good. There's been a lot of people who rank their secondary as the best in the league. We'll debate that. We'll see that on Sunday. But the Titans really do come in, Jared. We've only got one maybe bone bruise, we think. I mean, again, Derrick Henry nicked up. Taylor Lewan, he's a big player on offense with left tackle. He's suspended. They supposedly, too, have some injuries coming in and out there on several players you're hearing. Jared, the Titans do feel like they're a little banged up or whatever. The big thing that we were talking about and that I've been hearing nationally and Jim Nantz talked about today on KNR, the Titans are feeling disrespected coming in this game.
No, now here we go. Now I'm going to get pissed off. I've been waiting for this.
So the Titans feel disrespected. And
that's fine. Feel disrespected. This is bullshit. This is fake news.
I'm going to sip my coffee and let you rant.
Listen, we can sit here and we can say, and this is the thing. I'll agree. Are the Browns overhyped? Yes. Yes, they are. Do I understand why they're overhyped? I absolutely do. Whoop-de-hell, on paper. All the reason in the world to be overhyped. We know how the national media is. They love this stuff. They'll love it so much that they want us to kick ass and then fall on our faces halfway through the season. Right? That's what the national media will crave. They want it. They want to pick you up and then they want to beat you down. Well, I already know that's how it's going to go. But to sit here and act like Cleveland fans, Cleveland sports reporters, Cleveland beat writers, Cleveland radio sports talk show personalities, if you want to act like these people are the ones that are overhyping, are the ones that think, according to Paul Kaharski, who covers the Titans. Paul, let me address you directly. Nobody is saying the things that you're trying to goad Delaney Walker, your tight end, into getting angry and bulletin board material by suggesting that Cleveland sports media members think that the Browns are just going to walk in and take this game without trying. It's not that. There's no way that any of us feel that way. We're anxious. We're nervous. We don't know what to expect. Do we think that they could? Yes. We think that they could. Do we think that the talent is there? Yes. But do we know that any given Sunday is a saying for a reason? Abso-fucking-lutely. So don't come over here with your BS on Twitter trying to spread this straw man of Cleveland thinks they can just waltz in and take this game. I don't think that I've heard that out of anyone who covers the team. Is the team overhyped? Yes. Got it. Noted. Agreed. But
do the Browns have a target on her back? Yes.
Sure. Yes. Yes. But that's not the same thing as what Paul Kaharski is saying. And the fact that he even had the nerve to post the dumb video that he took with Delaney Walker, which, by the way, Delaney Walker basically shut him down the whole time and said, of course, I hope they come in here thinking that they can win. I hope they come in prepared and what do you think? I hope that Browns fans feel that way. They should. That's why they're Browns fans. So come on, man. Come on. Take your clickbait bullshit somewhere else. All right. I'm done. Rant over.
I do.
I mean, seriously, though. Come on.
Okay, I won't get into the Paul.
At least be honest and real about it. Don't just make shit up. God.
Well, the Titans have their feelings hurt. They feel like that the Browns are just
whatever you got.
And by the way, we already have a Super Bowl parade planned, and we're getting out the red carpet for all the famous Clevelanders coming back into town.
Came off an 0-16 season. Do you really think that that's how we are? Come on, man.
Look,
we're excited that we can cheer for a football team for the first time in 20 years and think that we actually have a chance of going better than 500. Seriously. Why is that a problem now? Had our asses kicked for 20 years, Andy. 20 years.
We won.
The butt of all jokes, the mistake on the lake.
We won 4 games.
A city that is completely made fun of because of their football team. Unfairly and unjustly so.
Well, according to Paul, the Titans beat reporter, sounds like we're just overhyping
Paul
this
can
team.
blow out his ass.
So, look, here's the one thing I will
let him
say.
in the locker room.
By the way, that was a ridiculous interview. Ridiculous interview. Jared's right. Look, here's the one thing about the Titans that I will say. The Browns have a target on their back. The Browns have been the darling of the PR offseason. Outside of what Antonio Brown's going through, which we'll get in a second, really the Browns have been the biggest story in the offseason so far. So there's no doubt. Now, does that mean that the Titans are being disrespected? No. In fact, Freddie Kitchens has put anything but that. I think that's what Freddie's done a great job of. He's really kept everybody down to earth. So I don't feel that either. But
blinders, like a horse in a race, the blinders are on.
But I can't speak for the Titans, but here's what I will say. You're definitely hearing, Jared, from others who are not from Cleveland, who are more national, that the Titans feel like that they're being disrespected. Now, we can't We can't say why or whatever, but that is a vibe. And the Browns need to be careful of that. The one thing I will warn people about this game, that the only thing I worry about, I think the Titans are going to be very fired up early to really hit the Browns in the mouth and really punch some things. But you know what? So are the Browns. The Browns have been putting up with this shit forever. Jared hit all the talking points. 4 wins in 3 seasons. It's been a long fucking run. Look, I'm ready to predict this game. I don't know if you are, but I am. We've hyped this machine now for so long. There's really no big stories going into this week. Like I said, the roster deck reshuffle, a bone bruise. That's about it. I really think the Browns come out here and they punch the Titans right in the mouth. I think the Titans will keep this game respectable. I don't think it's a blowout, but I think you're looking at 28-10, 28-14, something like that will be the final score. I think that the bigger story of the day will be the defense. I think the defense is going to come away as the bigger story. Not just in Cleveland, but nationally.
31-10.
So we both feel very strong about the game. I will make under-over predictions on Saturday. I will also make predictions on the lines on Saturday. Check it out at our website. I will also post them on Facebook. You know, Jared kind of alluded to the first game, so I think we've hammered that one home. The first week...
I'm still pissed off and all that.
The biggest things that the bigger things I notice in week 1, Jared, is it's always hard to determine which games are sexy or not to me. And you always, even by week 2, it seems like you get a better vibe, like, oh, these are good matchups, whatever. Right. All these matchups in some reasons or other, they look really decent or really awful. It's hard to get a vibe of which games are good or not.
I've heard folks say that the 1 o'clocks look good, but there's way too many of them consistently throughout the season so far.
What does that fucking mean?
Well, basically that there's some weeks where there's 10 1 o'clock games.
Well, yeah,
and
that's what's great about the. But that's what's great. I'm not going to do this today. That's what's great about the NFL.
I don't. I'm just listen. This is just. I'm not. No names, please. But you know, then I hear, and I haven't looked closely, but I've heard the 4 o'clock games this week are the ones that could be the dogs.
Well, here's the one that sticks out: the Giants and Cowboys. And on paper, Giants and Cowboys are usually the Sunday Night Football game kick off the year, or they're usually the Monday Night Football game. Right. They're the 4:30 game. Look. I said this on this podcast, and I will say it again. I am exhausted by the Cowboys. I'm exhausted by their storylines. I don't care about Zeke Elliott signing contracts. I'm happy for him. I don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck that they're in Hawaii. I don't care about anything that's going on.
Yeah.
I don't care. Or they're in Hawaii. They're in LA this year. I don't care about the Cowboys. The bigger thing to me from afar, the storyline that I'll be watching outside the Browns, of course, is how do the Giants do? Because they have been our arch nemesis from afar the entire season. It's going to be
our rival we won't play.
Yeah, exactly. We have no ties. We have no history with. Oh. And I will say this too. It is going to be interesting to see how they do because there's been a lot of mixed results already about how fast this kid Jones can start. But, you know, the 4 o'clock games, there's nothing thrilling there. Steelers, Patriots, look, for how much we hate the Steelers. That's a sexy game. We're not naive.
It is. No, it absolutely is. You're right.
And it's shameful.
New England's going to win by probably 14, but nonetheless, it's a good game.
Right. I actually, you know, okay, going quickly. Here's some quick thoughts on some teams. I think the Dolphins are terrible. I've been hearing from Ravens fans all year about how well Lamar Jackson played in the preseason. I want to see this. I got to see this. But I heard that again today from a Ravens guy. So we'll see.
Ravens fans, I feel like sometimes, and I'm not, maybe, now this is going to come off like me being a jerk, but I'm going to say it. I've talked to a lot of Ravens fans that don't really know what bad quarterbacks look like and like how to, and like what they're watching. I just have.
Yeah.
I just have.
They have a good coach. I like John Harbaugh a lot, but other than that, I don't know. I think the Falcons are on their way down. The Vikings are interesting teams. I like where they're going. I just don't like their quarterback, Kirk Cousins. Like everything else the Vikings have going for them, I don't like their quarterback. Buffalo Bills, if you talk to one Bills fan, they think they're going to make the playoffs. I think that's over-exaggerated, but we'll see what happens. Yeah. The Jets are a mystery. You talk to one guy, they think they'll win 8 or 9 games. Another guy thinks it's 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. I think the Jets are definitely on a year up, but they have a lot of injuries already. Right. The Redskins are terrible. I'm surprised by how many people like the Eagles, Jared. I think Carson Wentz is a big year. I think it's quietly not been talked about enough. I think it's a big year for Carson Wentz.
Man, there's still, to me, too much talk of would you rather have Baker Mayfield or wish the Browns would have drafted Carson Wentz? And I just think that conversation is dumb.
Done. And dumb and done. I'm sorry. Dumb. Both. No. Both. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think? Is this, how much more does Cam Newton have in him in Carolina?
It's a big year for him. It's a big year for him, too. Big year for him.
I don't know how much he's got left. I don't know how much longer Tampa Bay is going to put up with what they're putting up with down there.
Big year. It's a big year for them. Big year. The Chiefs are going to be the favorites in most people's eyes to not only win the AFC, to win it all. And by the way, it's legitimate. They're very good.
They're like a 1-5 right now.
If you really want a team that goes from worst to first, I would pick Jacksonville. Actually, Chiefs and Jags is a good game. I like Foles in Jacksonville. I think they'll thrive. I think Jacksonville is going to make the playoffs because of the next team, Indianapolis Colts. Sad to what happened to Andrew Luck. That was shameful how some of those fans booed. I really felt for Andrew Luck, and I wish him the best of luck.
Yeah.
The Los Angeles Chargers are the most overhyped Super Bowl team you'll ever talk about. Every year, Jared, there's 3 or 4 prosecutors. The Chargers are going to go Super Bowl and win it. I don't buy into it. They'll make the playoffs, but I don't see big things. Cincinnati's in a total...
that last year's playoff game against the Ravens was a microcosm of exactly what the Chargers are.
Agreed. Well said. Seahawks, hard to read, but they'll be good. We talk about the Giants and Cowboys. Lions, they stink. Cardinals, they stink. Niners, can't get a read on them. One day I feel good about them.
Well, because you don't know what Jimmy G is going to be. Is he going to be the guy that you thought, the sleeper 3rd-round pick that you thought he would end up turning into? At least me, I wanted the Browns to draft him. Instead, we went with Johnny Manziel. So.
It's going to, By the way, right? And by the way, Jimmy G was the guy. There's no question. I was that guy too. The Pats, I've already mentioned that. The Pats make the playoffs, but I don't think they make the Super Bowl ever again with this crew. I think they're finding their way down. The Steelers, for how much they make me violent vomit, I really think the Steelers are going to play hard this year. I think they're going to make a hard push. I think they're going to challenge the Browns all year. I think that is going to be a thorn in the side for. I think the Steelers make the playoffs. I think they're going to play determined, and I think they're going to have a little bit of a push and a pump because of what's going on with them.
Which makes beating them twice even more important.
More important. The Houston Texans have a whole new team, it feels like. They've traded and got people in and out. Can't read that team at all. The Saints are the Saints. They'll be good again. The Broncos are another team you don't hear much about. Didn't hear anything about them in the offseason.
I think pretty decently of that team right now. I don't know what it is, but I think Flacco's going to have a decent season. I really do.
We'll find out. Usually guys like Flacco goes one way or the other. A nice, good, decent bounce back or terrible. It's usually nowhere in between. He won't be average. He'll either have a good bounce back, almost Pro Bowl type season, or just flaming just flaming bad. And the Raiders, look, it's all about Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown is one of the most fascinating sagas I have seen because I think the club just interjected Mike Mayock today, if I'm being honest. And I don't know how Mike Mayock feels about this, but I would be really pissed off for Mike Mayock today.
Mike Mayock got ran over by a bus.
Trucked.
He really did. Because it was like the team, Gruden, all basically band together and said, "You're not suspending him.
Nope.
He's playing. He'll apologize. He'll deny calling you a cracker, by the way." Which
it's amazing. It's amazing.
And life will go on, and you're just gonna have to stand there and deal with it. Does Mike does he stay the full year, or does he leave before the end of this year?
See, I was just talking about this with a Raiders guy I know who's close to the team.
Yeah,
I think it's more troublesome, and I'm with you. I wonder if he does stay. I guess he will, but I'll tell you what, the Raiders. It's a shame that game's on 10:30 because I would watch that game if it were earlier. I think they are a fascinating team to watch. All right, something fun for you and I to do each week. We'll pick an eliminator and see how long we can land. Do you have the games in front of you real quick?
I do,
We could do it fast. All right, I will go firsthand, and I'm going to stay away from the Browns only because that makes me nervous in week one. Which game do I really feel like it's a hand? Okay, I like the Saints at home. Saints at home Monday night. They won't lose that game. They'll beat the Texans.
Oh,
Same.
see, I think okay. Well, this is a gimme. I wish I knew the points on this. But if it's straight up, I'm definitely taking the Seahawks at home against the Bengals.
Oh, good one. Good one. I like that.
That's an automatic.
That's
absolute
a given.
automatic.
We will, like I said, I'll make picks. I will make over and unders. I will post them on Facebook and on our website. Be on the lookout for them. We both like the Browns big this week. Let's go now to the college boys who started off last week. The Buckeyes did what they had to do. I don't think there's really too much to hide here. I love how people pick apart the first games when you play like teams like FAU. So as a neutral, non-Buckeye fan, I will tell you, I thought that game went according to script. Really not a lot of things that were weird or strange. I thought Fields played well. I'm surprised by how many people were really down on Fields after the game, saying he didn't play impressive enough.
Second and third quarter is really what it comes down to. It was when
they took their foot off the gas.
Took their foot off the gas, yeah. But it did. Excuse me, pardon me. That's a little White Claw.
Don't get emotional. Don't get emotional.
No, that's a little.
Okay.
I got a little White Claw on me right here. By the way, Ohio is the #1 state for drinking White Claw. Apparently, drink the most White Claw. Are you surprised?
No. No.
So, anyways, it looked like Fields might have struggled to find some folks in that second and third quarter, though, too. He held on the ball a few times.
That's a bit of a reach.
I don't know. Listen, if I had to nitpick, that's what I'm saying. But was I worried? No, I didn't even bother watching the fourth quarter. I don't think.
Buddy,
I was busy. I went driving.
That's my point. When you go up 28-0, you're going to take your foot off the gas mentally, naturally. Olave had a good start to the year. I think that was important. The only other thing I got here that I really learned from this game is, again, as the season goes on, and Fields is going to be the big story here, will the defense keep up? They had I'd say an okay to nice start. I wouldn't say it was good. It was okay to nice. Can they play better? And then Jared, is Dobbins really going to be the guy who can lead this team to big wins in a big spot when Fields is struggling? Because that always happens in college football. You always have one game a year where you need your running back to win the game.
Look, I can't make any of those assessments yet. I didn't have a preseason to watch these guys.
No, I will say this.
You know what I mean? I never, the Buckeyes, I watch them every year and watch them progressively just figure their lives out as the season goes on.
Yes. It's
just the way it goes.
Here's the one thing I'll give you that I like about Fields early that Haskins did not have. Fields can run. 12 carries, 61 yards in the score. He can run.
Yep.
He's elusive. That's going to be a big part of this helping out. Jury's still out on defense. I'll be honest with you. I thought FAU, if they had more time in that game, would have scored more points. So I'm interested to see how they do this week. I think this is the real week. Jared,
that was something we talked about, Andy. I'm surprised they didn't cover.
No, they did not. They missed by 4.
Yeah.
I'm interested to see the Bearcat game. I don't think the Buckeyes lose, but I think this game's going to be close. I think it's going to be – I could see this game getting –
Boy, if it's close, then we've got some questions.
Well, it happens.
And you're right. I do worry more about that defense than anything else.
Yeah.
Especially you're coming off a historically, monumentally bad defensive year.
Yeah. That was the one thing I took out of this game is like the jury's still out, but it's not like last year. I will say that. One game in. But again, it's one game in. But I'm interested to see how they do against the Bearcats. I think the Buckeyes.
Watching Ohio State last year was like watching the Indians this year.
Oh, boy.
Hanging on by a thread and just wondering if they're going to make it in at the end.
Yeah. Switching over to my Irish, they won on Monday. If you didn't watch the game, you probably woke up and said, it was a normal game. Notre Dame got pushed around a little bit. Then, at the end of the day, Louisville just conked out an Irish win. But if you really watch that game like I did, the whole story is about Book. Book struggled. Book had some bad turnovers. Book basically gift-wrapped that game, it looks like, at the end of the second quarter, and then Louisville turns the ball right back to them, and Book takes advantage and scores. Jared, I hate saying it. Look, I'll get to the positive things, and I'll hammer it home with Book one more time. Tony Jones looked great. The defense has great edge rushers. They have speed. The Irish look actually bigger and faster than last year. They look like they're a team that can do big things. But this is the old saying, it don't fucking matter if you put the ball on the turf and you make mistakes. And I like Book, but this is
take care of the ball.
But you got to take care of the ball. And I'll tell you, he played scared, It reminded me of Winbush last year when he struggled. And again, I have mentioned this, and I just cannot hammer it home more. This is not just a Clemson game either. He struggled against Syracuse. He struggled against SC, and he looked terrible against Clemson. And honestly, Jared, he did not play well against
Well, I mean, what are
Louisville.
their options at this point, too?
Jared, that's my point. This whole season now, that's what it's funny. I was talking to another Irish guy, and we said the same thing. It's like, it's so scary because I think the Irish could win maybe 11 games, maybe get lucky and make the playoffs with all the stuff. They're so talented. But with Book as quarterback looking like this,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. The Irish are really, it is this, I don't remember an Irish team like this where it's like the potential is all there, but they have a quarterback concern. Not an issue, a concern. I thought his comments after the game, too, were strange. Just a little rusty, but I got to learn from it. I'm going to move on. Excited to go back and watch the film. Excited to watch the film.
Oh, God.
Look,
He said watch the film.
Book. I like you. You're a young kid.
He wants to go watch the film.
Oh, book.
Listen.
When you laid the
I
ball
got
on
a
the
guy
carpet,
who will watch all the film in the world with you,
Hey.
brother.
Hey, Book.
I know a guy.
Yeah, Book.
Love watching film.
When you laid the ball on the carpet, 14-14 into the second quarter,
You don't need to relive that by watching the film.
No. The other thing too is from
We
Kelly.
all know what that looks like, and it should be ingrained in your fucking mind from when you did it.
Yeah, but I thought Kelly's explanation was the best. He can be better. We're not going to beat him with a shoe. I mean, it's one game. He needs to be better. He knows that. That's how I do take the Book situation. And he is a college kid. So let's see if he can bounce back. The New Mexico home game is going to be a great thing for the Irish. They could use that game. By the way, if people don't know, Bob Davie used to coach the Irish back in the day. He had a heart attack after the game against New Mexico. He is not going to be able to travel for the game. So, the Irish obviously have a wounded team coming in there without their coach. They're going to have an opportunity. New Mexico's not that good. They should have an opportunity, Jared, to really win that game and win big. That's the game to me. It's funny. Even after the Irish game, even though they played a Louisville team looks better. They look better. I got to give them credit. They played hard. That, to me, is my litmus test as an Irish fan. Even though New Mexico's bad. Is Book really this bad? Is it really this clean? Because if he struggles against New Mexico, oh boy. I mean, that's when you really start watching, you really start wondering. The big games this week, we mentioned Cincy and OSU. That's at noon. Army and Michigan at noon. I would keep your eye on that game. Army's not as bad as what you think they are. And then there are two wonderful, wonderful games. And if you love sports, I would watch both. Yeah. I think A&M and Clemson, I'm going to give it away. I think A&M might beat Clemson. I really think that is possible.
Early upset, huh?
You're going to see it, probably something in the Facebook post. I think A&M is one of those teams that has the athletes. I like Jimbo Fisher. He's not going to be intimidated going to Death Valley on a Saturday. This team will be ready enough to play. I love this game. And Clemson's not going to overlook A&M either.
Yeah.
I just think it's one of those games where I can see A&M really playing well. LSU Texas to me is a throw 'em up game, meaning I have no vibe on who's going to win.
No.
But that's why you must watch. Both teams are in the top 10. These are two wonderful college football games. And
I'm curious to see what LSU looks like in that.
I am too. And it's a big game for Texas. It's one thing to win a bowl game against a Georgia team is deflated, not making the playoffs. It's another thing to beat a pissed off, hyped LSU team is ready to tear.
Right.
That is a big game. And then for people who love college football like I do, you can stay up until 2 in the morning and watch USC and Stanford. It's a 10:30 in LA time. Really, the bigger story in that game is what happens to the LA quarterback situation. Their quarterback's out and hurt, but that is a good game. It's a better slate of games than week one. I think the bigger thing that, taking back off to the Irish and Bucks, and we'll wrap up here on the Indians. The Buckeyes, things to see against the Bearcats, like you mentioned. Justin Fields, I think, is getting pounded a little too hard. I think that's being a little too harsh. I'm more interested to see what the defense does. And as for the Irish, I hate saying it, because it's not fair to a young kid who's not of age and playing in the pros. It's all in Book. If Book plays well, the Irish are going to win big this year. If he doesn't, I think you're looking at 8 or 9 wins. I think it's that simple with the Irish. I really do already. I think it's that simple with this team.
I've got 2 other college football notes that I want to mention. Both of them are coach related. Both of them speak to something that I've talked to a few times in that regard. That's regarding the ego of these college football coaches. What's up with this with the Liberty Flames head coach coaching from his bed, his hospital bed, and then coaching from a $5,000 special chair that they will load onto. Give me, like, go home and take fucking care of yourself. Sorry for cursing. Plug your ears if you don't like it, Liberty folks. But I'm telling you right now, don't mean to violate your ears with my filthy mouth.
Hashtag not blessed.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Well, yeah, I know too much about that Lynchburg, Virginia area. And yes, I can't help it. My bias is there. Falwell Jr. is a complete weirdo. That's a whole other discussion. But why is Liberty's head coach out planning on coaching from a special chair and not at home taking care of himself the correct way? And then the other thing is Urban Meyer going to coach USC next year or what? Because
okay,
the guy is probably itching at the bit.
I'm glad you brought this up. So I got to ask this a lot this week. All right, so let's go to the first one. I hope the coach is doing okay. I hope his health is
absolutely
okay. But to what Jared's saying, he was literally in a nightgown with an IV thing, so it was strange. Okay, sorry, it was strange. Sometimes it's okay to go home. I've been hearing a lot about this USC thing. I don't think it adds up. I think Urban Meyer's done. I did mention on a prior podcast down the road that I thought Urban would always come back if he did retire. I've started taking a different tune after hearing him talk and after hearing him go around. I think there's only one job left for Urban, and it's a gold shining crown, and he can run out there. And I think Notre Dame would love to have him, and he would go there in a heartbeat. And I'm being serious.
I think you're right too.
I think that's really the one job. I think that's the one job.
I think Our Lady is the only place.
Yeah, I think. And by the way, that would be a fun podcast for this show because I would eat that up. But I don't think Urban's going to do that either.
I'm not a big Urban fan as it is. I mean,
that's right.
I've got a love-hate thing for him. I shouldn't say hate, a love-dislike thing.
The big thing about Urban is I think he's retired right now. And I don't think USC makes sense on paper. I don't think it makes any sense on paper. And I think the bigger story, and to me, about USC is not Urban Meyer, is why Todd Helton's still coaching. That's the bigger story to me. And it's early in the season. Let's let Helton play it out, and maybe he can turn things around. But, Jared, I don't buy into the Urban Meyer stuff at all. I don't buy into it for 1 minute. And I'm surprised it's gotten this much attention and this much buzz. It has been shocking.
Yeah, that was all. I mean, these are just two things. Again, I hate to, I don't want to steal stuff from other, but
it's been banter,
folks. But when I listen to these things, I get to thinking about them myself, and it's a conversation that I think is worth having, at least for shits and giggles. So I figure I'd throw it out there. If you got a coach from a hospital bed, then just go home.
Oh my God, yeah. Don't go to the game. I think my last comment again, Urban Meyer, I think there's one job left, and it's for Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I think that is the job. And I could see him taking that job. Okay, let's get into it. We love football, excited about it. And then there's the Tribe.
Cleveland Indians.
I love this team. I was so excited about Cookie Carrasco coming back this week. It was a wonderful scene on Sunday. It was real emotion on the mound. You would never want to take anything away from a guy like that in that moment. It was so good. Such a good guy. You root for him. And then he came back to Cleveland, got the same response. Jared, this team has really become a feel-good story no matter what happens this year. Yeah. Carlos Carrasco was a cherry on top this year. Love seeing the whole story. Just a great story. It's a great story. And it's amazing that he's pitching after everything. For all the injuries and for all the things that Jared and I have debated, I don't think you and I once said, Carlos Carrasco will come back and pitch in September. I never remember that coming out of our mouth. No. And it's amazing. He is. I'm so happy for Carlos. He is such a good guy, and it was a wonderful, wonderful moment. Love it. Story, documentary kind of stuff. It was that good. It was that strong.
It really was. Watching Lindor go to the mound and give him a hug.
It was awesome.
And then I heard that when Carrasco went back to the dugout, his hand was shaking.
Yeah. It was good.
It really is. And Andy, I'm going to go back to this again before we go into, some of the questions and concerns that we've got towards we wrap up this season. I need to say it again. I'm okay with whatever happens with this Indians team this year.
Yes. Very likable.
After seeing what they fielded at the beginning of the year and watching them fight tooth and nail to stay in it. And then to have what was really amounts to basically another good season comparably to their past 3. It just so happens that some teams in their division and in the AL in general are just so historically bad that a team like the Twins took advantage. And on a year where you thought maybe that they were, taking steps in the right direction, they've launched themselves to the front of the pack. I don't know what to say. The Indians haven't played terribly against the Twins. The Indians haven't beat some of the teams that they should be beating, but they haven't played poorly against the Twins.
Nope.
They haven't played poorly against the division. So
aside from the White Sox.
Well, yeah. Oh, no.
They're going to lose the season series to the White Sox, folks.
I guess I didn't even think about that.
They're going to lose the season series. I think the big story from day one for me, this team has felt like they're going for a pennant while they're rebuilding. Yeah. And I think that's kind of the reason why they're here. They also had some horrible injuries that they just
We've even talked about rebuilding or retooling. We've even tried to,
Yeah, I mean, they just
mess around with that wording.
They just have been there all year. This team is very likable, though. I love watching them play. I cheer hard for them. They're very likable.
Those nights where the bats are dead.
They've had a long run. Aside from Reyes. Reyes has been hot. He is playing so well right now.
And that's a great sign, right?
That was a great trade.
Great sign for next year.
Seeing Bauer give up bombs, it's a great trade.
Man, this is how much I've missed him. We haven't even talked about him.
Yeah, you're not going to.
Haven't griped about him, haven't bitched about him. I don't even care. Oh, Cleveland, I'm not going to miss. I don't care that you don't miss Cleveland.
Right.
That's fine.
So all those feel-good stories about how we like the team and the Carlos Carrasco, and it was great. I do now want to put those on the shelf, and let's talk about on the field. The Indians shit the bed against the Rays, and then they followed up with a 2-2 thing against the White Sox. Look, I love this team. We mentioned it. 2-5 in September. Come on, guys. Jared, you got to win games in Tampa against a series like that.
Yeah.
You got to win more. And then if you do that, you better win 3 out of 4 or sweep the Chi Sox. Jared, they're lucky to go 2-2. I felt like they could have gone 1-3 in that series. The Tribe are really just sleepwalking, and the big story, even with the bats struggling a bit, and they have been, is the bullpen. The bullpen right now is just a far-on fiasco led by our reliever, Brad Hand.
We've had the signs of that the entire season because we'd never had any guys that can go for length. This was never a bullpen that was built for length.
And it's really showed its ugly head. Simber's not pitched well lately. Goody has completely lost it after having a good month. They can't get anything together. Clippard is good. Perez is good. Whitgren got the save on Wednesday. So he has moments here and
there. You mean
here.
Mercado?
Well, that was a great save of the year. What a catch. The biggest thing, though, that I guess I'm going to start harping again, and I kind of harped on about it with you and with others, relievers and closers are fickle. And you know what? The next time the Indians get in a situation like this where they can make a big trade and get parts back, make the trade. Make the trade. I'm actually going to start saying this, make the trade. Because the Indians could have gotten things back, and they didn't. And by the way, it wasn't the wrong move either. I'm not going to shit on that. It's for down the road. It's not for now.
We saw it peek in its head.
After
but we didn't, and that was even before the trade deadline.
Yeah, I know, and it just he had a weird series against the Tigers. You know what? And I don't. You know what? It's to the point now, Brad Hand, as it was on Wednesday, he can't even get out. It's not even like he's blowing saves, but yet he gets out of the inning. Jared, he can't even get out of the inning right now. He only got 1 out with a 4-run lead against the White Sox at home.
Andy, if the Indians get into this, this playoffs, into the postseason, with a backdoor wild card spot, at best, you can't even throw him.
They have only won 2 games.
You can't throw him.
They've only won 2 games this year against the A's and Rays. 2. I think the Indians are really up against it. And like I said, we just gave the positive, so I'm not trying to be too harsh here, but I want to talk reality. This has got to clean itself up. Even for a team I don't have high expectations for, clean it up. Yeah. Win some games, get out there, and it's got to be frustrating for Francona because this team is better than what they showed this week. 2-5 just doesn't cut it. They got to look. If they're going to really make the playoffs. Forget the Twins in the division. Just getting the playoffs. 2 out of 3 Minneapolis. Because after this, they go to Anaheim, then they come back to play the Twins again at home.
Got to be honest, not 2 out of 3. They got to sweep the Twins.
Got to probably sweep the Twins.
Got to sweep the Twins. Got to.
Well, that's just to get in the playoffs. I'm saying. I'm not saying forget the division. I think the division's out.
I just think even for them, I really think we're at a point where until you show me that you can do something like that, right? I think it would show me something if you could sweep the Twins.
The other thing too, I don't want to pick on a guy too much, but Jake Bauers has had an interesting defensive week again, where balls are going over his head. There's a moment where he tried to catch a ball and he tripped over the pitcher's mound in Tampa and slipped down on the grass. Jake has had an interesting year. I really hope better things for him. Jared, if I'm being truthful, I think he's had a rough start in Cleveland.
No argument.
He's got to play better. You are correct. The Jake Bauer's got to play better than that. Sorry. He sticks out in these games. He just sticks out in these games. And I know he played better and he had some hits on Monday against the White Sox, but he's got to play better than this. My final assessment of this whole thing is I can't believe I'm saying this. I still think the Indians make the wild card. I think the division's out. I procrastinate a lot. I don't think they were ever going to take over the Twins. I do think, though, they can make the playoffs, but I agree with Jared. I think it's 2 out of 3, but you got to keep winning because the A's and the Rays are showing no signs of stopping. None. And I think the Rays supposedly, too, have a lot of games the Orioles left. So they're going to be gobbling up wins like Pac-Man pellets there.
We'll have to wait and see, Andy.
By the way, kudos to Clevenger, pitcher of the month in August. Kudos to Clevenger.
There's that. Sure.
It's getting hard. It's getting hard.
It's been a fun year, and I'm ready for next season.
Ready for the Browns? Ready for the Browns?
No, see, I'm not even doing that because this is what's aggravating too. I'm not Mr. This is a Browns town. I'm not Mr. Pick your favorite Cleveland sports team. I'm not that guy. I don't like pitting my time spent with the Indians against my time spent with the Browns or my time spent with the Cavs. I don't play that game.
I'm the same way.
I just don't. I don't like it. I think it's unfair. I think it's hurtful. Look, and you can make fun of me all you want on this, but I think it's shitty to do. I love all these teams. I love them all.
Yeah, that's
so.
One
don't ask me. I saw a poll today floating around on Twitter about would you rather see the Indians sweep the Twins and the Browns lose to the Titans? Or watch the Browns beat the Titans and the Indians
those are self-inflicted polls. There's no winners.
I don't know. That's what I mean. It's like, why are you even asking that shit?
Well, here's the thing. I've had a strange.
Get out of here.
To what Jared's getting to. The strange thing about me is like if I had been excited about the Browns game 1, yes. But college football and the Indians, there's so many good things to watch right now. Like I'm not like biting my nails counting down seconds to the Browns-Titans kickoff, especially the way the Indians have played this year. I've been watching all these games this week, so I'm with Jared. And again, I love college football too. So I've been reading a lot more of those comments. I almost want to reach out to people and be like, "Are you seriously not watching anything else aside from 16 games? Come on." There's so many good things, especially in Cleveland.
Listen,
you got the Indians, you got the Cavs.
It's dumb. It's dumb to even. It's just dumb.
It is dumb. Dumb stuff.
No.
So I guess to wrap up, we're very excited about the Browns, though. With all that to be said, I am. I know Jared is too. It should be great to see. It's going to be interesting on Saturday to see what the Bucs do against the Bearcats. Not so much who's going to win or lose. I don't think that's the question. The question is the defense back? Does Justin Fields play? Not to FAU, but he's getting a stiffer test. But does he play well? Seeing those little things go on. Clemson A&M at 3:30. LSU, Texas. And I think the bigger thing here we all kind of encapsulated with everything that's going wrong for the tribe in the standings. Really, Carlos Carrasco's story steals the show as it should. What a wonderful moment for him this week on the mound, and that's the kind of stuff that's making the Indians fun to watch. Even with all the losing and all the struggles, Carlos Carrasco does put a smile on your face.
Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Cleveland and Beyond. On Twitter, @CLE and Beyond. Shoot us an email, Andy and Jared, Jarid, Andy and Jared @gmail.com. Also, don't forget you can follow the show wherever podcasts are found, Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, your Alexa device, it's all there at your convenience. Listen how you like. Leave us a rating, leave us a comment, and we'll talk to you again soon. He's
Yes.
Andy Billman. Oh, are you piping in one more time? Listen, you said you were done. I thought I was going to roll right into it. I thought I'd try something a little new.
So
I'm
here
just
we
going to roll right out and not even offer you a
No,
last
I
comment.
want to talk. I got things to say. Look, last thing, please, I will make picks and predictions. 2 out of 3 this last week. I will pick 2. I'll pick 3 NFL games, over-unders for NFL football, and I will pick 3 more, maybe 4 in college football.
You feel better? He's Andy Billman. I'm Jared Watson. Andy and Jared, Cleveland and beyond. Go Browns!
Go Browns.
And Indians, equally.
And Indians. And Cavs.
And Cavs, equally.
Boilers.
Damn it. No, not them.
Big game. Boilers, Commodores. Big game. Everybody's watching.
No, they're not.
Boiler up, anchor down. Who do you got?